You know, this winter storm came in and it's not over yet. And look at this snow. I mean, the depth, it's already melted quite a bit. And the reason it has is because the ground was warm. We've had 60 or 70 degree weather. My tongue and my lips are, not my tongue, but my lips are frozen. It's cold out here. It's about 20 degrees. I'm up here on Welch Family Homestead, and we had one of the most beautiful snows today, and the ground was warm, so it has soaked up, melted from underneath the snow, not the top of the snow. Too cold to melt it from the top, but it melts it from underneath as the ground was just too warm. But it's supposed to be 6 degrees Fahrenheit tonight as the temperature drops. It won't get above freezing all day today. And the amount of snow that's getting soaked into the garden is great because that's good for the garden. But at the same time, all this moisture tonight is going to freeze hard. I mean, it's going to freeze really hard. So anyway, here I am with my trusty partner, Chevy, as you can see him in the background here. Hey, Chevy. Hey, buddy. So he's enjoying walking through the snow. He has his mind on everything except for what I'm talking about, and that's okay. So anyway, welcome to the channel here. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I am absolutely excited about our new channel here at Welch Family Homestead, what we're going to be able to do with helping so many people raise a garden, know how to raise a garden, raise their own vegetables, provide their own food. You know, that's what a lot of it's all about. I've never really considered myself a prepper. Look at this beautiful snow and the trees. I have a lot of trees. I have about 30 something acres of forest. And the rest of it is all pasture and garden land. So it's just absolutely gorgeous. But there's one thing I want to show you that is just off the charts awesome. And I'll just say this. Our garden that we plowed up, the heat of the soil, because, you know, when you plow the garden, you're actually creating a compost effect within your garden. I mean, it's not as much as a compost pile, because if it was, you would have so much nitrogen build up so quickly that if you put seed in it, it would not do well if it was a fresh compost. But we plowed up a garden this year in an area that was covered with foliage that had not been touched for over 11 years. And because of that, I removed most of all the foliage and the roots and everything else that was growing there. It was almost like a pasture. And, but there's still some composting going on. And because of that, let me show you this. This is amazing. I'm walking down here to the garden. Let me wipe my camera off. There you go. Hope you can see better now. Okay, so I'm walking down here to the garden. I want you to notice how that the garden has melted off all this snow. We had about 7 or 8 inches today, and it's all melted off of the garden. Check this out. Isn't that amazing? This is a fairly good sized garden. And as you notice, it melted the snow. And the reason it did is because the ground is so much warmer than the air. The air has not been above 20 something degrees all day. So this is kind of part 2 of the winter storm coming in. I'm freezing. Very good. Look at this beautiful, beautiful white pine. It's hard to really tell how gorgeous it is with my camera pointed this way. But does give you a little bit of an idea of the weather we're having. Now, advice. I'm going to give you some advice. Excuse me, it's cold. And I'm going to get back inside here in a moment. But in the winter months, when you have a homestead, what do you do to prepare for a storm like this? Because just climbed a hill. This is what happened last night. We were expecting a little rain and then snow, major temperature drops. The rain turned into freezing rain. We had a lot of wind. All the way through the southeast, there's been hurricane gust level winds. If you can hear it in the background, you can hear the wind blowing through the trees here in the Appalachian Mountains. I don't know if you can see the mountains in the background. See the mountain right there? Mountains are all around me, and I'm on a mountain. But we had freezing rain. So the freezing rain got on the trees, the bushes, any cars or equipment you have outside. And then after that, the snow started coming down. We had probably about 6 inches of snow in about an hour earlier today. We had about 2 inches this morning when I woke up, and it melted off fairly quickly. And then after that, we had another 6 or 7 inches, and this is what's left of it. And I'm out of power. Electricity went off. And one of the things that you need to prepare for in living in a homestead is alternative everything. Luckily, I was set up to handle it. And how did I do that? I have a generator. I have a generator running right now. I'm a ways from it. I can hear it, but you probably can't on the video. But yes, I have a generator going, and it's running the electricity for the pump, the water pump, lights, other things that I have going on. And that's important because when it gets this cold, especially 6 degrees tonight, and up here on the mountain, it could get even colder. Your pipes can freeze, especially if they're not protected very well. So even though I have them semi-protected because I'm doing construction right now on the cabin, and we're doing a lot of things here to prepare for the homestead, a lot of things are in temporary mode right now. Even though it's semi-okay, it's not 100% okay. So we do have the pipes buried very deep, but we also have pipes that are running temporary to certain locations that need to be handled on a permanent level and managed better as the construction completes. And because of that, we're having to leave the water running so that the water won't freeze. And by leaving the water running so the water won't freeze, we have to have electricity going to the water pump. So the water pump has to turn on the pump ever so many minutes, and builds up the pressure. The pump goes off, turns off. It's on a pressure switch. And as that water turns off, then the water will keep running as we have the water trickling to keep the water from freezing. But then after it loses pressure in the pressure tank, then the pressure switch turns the pump back on. So I have to keep electricity going or the water will not continue to run. So if the water doesn't run, the water will freeze. Running water doesn't freeze. Water that's standing still will freeze. So That's one of the things you need to prepare for, especially if you live in a climate where you may go without power. And during winter storms, sometimes limbs will be cold, trees will be cold. When you have winds like we had over the last 24 hours, it can break things, and trees and limbs are one of them. And when they break and they fall over a power line and they short out a transformer somewhere, then the power company has to correct that issue before electricity can be restored in that area. Now, luckily here, I'm on Duke Energy, and Duke, they contact us and let us know when the power is going off and when the power is coming back on. This is my power pole where my transformer is, and I have my security light on it. And but I want you to just take a look again at the garden. Look how the garden is snow-free because of the plowing. I plowed about 2 foot deep to really stir the soil up. And as I stirred that soil up, there was also some organic matter in the soil that I'm sure is allowing a little bit of a heat through the composting effect that is allowing it to stay warmer down there, which that might be good. That means the garden may not freeze completely solid deeply tonight, even though it's getting really cold. It may just be a crust. I don't really have that much planted yet. As I mentioned, I have only onions so far, and so we're safe. Everything is okay. We have icicles hanging everywhere right now, and it's cold. I won't keep you long. I just want you to make sure that you can depend on us to give you as much knowledge as we possibly can as we go through this journey together. And the things that I go through here, I want to share them with you so that maybe there's a little nugget of wisdom or knowledge or experience that we're experiencing that can help you along your journey if you intend to have your garden or become a homesteader like us. I encourage you to do that. You know, there's so many people that are moving away from the highly populated areas and cities now, and they're trying to find a piece of property like we did and to get away. Maybe like my first intention when I first bought this place about 20 years ago, I just wanted a place for us to play. We could come up here with our ATVs, and we were close to our favorite big lake that we could go fishing or hike into the Great Smoky Mountains from. And I mean, the Great Smoky Mountain is just over top of my mountain here, and I love it up here. I love the environment. I love the cleanness of the air. I love the peace. There's something about it, what it does to me and what it would do to you if you obviously get away from all that hustle bustle, rush hour traffic world that you may live in. I like it when I get away from that. And that was my goal. And I'm living my dream up here on the mountain. And I'm glad you are joining me today for this part of the journey. Even though today is a little bit of a struggle, keeping the power on and dealing with the weather, these little nuggets of conversation hopefully will help you to understand why that you need alternative power at times. And if you live in an apartment building and in a city somewhere and your power goes out, they probably have a backup system generator for that apartment, or the heat that has been stored in all these other apartments might be insulating you to a certain point. But when you're living off on your own, you need to make sure that you have a backup plan, whether it be solar, whether it be water generated, wind generated, or even a generator that you can hook up to your power system that it can continuously run to manage your alternative needs. So, and I'll show you the generator here in a moment. Okay, so my power came back on, and I'm glad for that. And what's so awesome about having alternative energy, some type of backup, is when the power goes out, you still have lights, or you're able to run your pump, or you're able to run other electronics that are in your house. Very important to also keep your water running if it's cold weather, especially if you're having a winter storm coming through and limbs are breaking, tearing up power lines, and it knocks your power out. What are you going to do if you don't have electricity? Obviously, you can have alternative heat in your different locations of your infrastructure, but you also need lights, or you need electronics and other ways for your own convenience. We all have a life, right? One of the beautiful things here today was when the power went out, I still had Wi-Fi, I still had the ability to communicate and to operate my business like I normally would, which I am in business, so I have things I have to take care of. And it's nice when the Wi-Fi didn't go out. Last time the power went out, even though I had the alternative power here, I am on a Wi-Fi system that is ran in cable down the road. And now if I was hooked up to some type of Wi-Fi from a satellite dish, it would be a different story, but I'm not. And because of that, if the power goes out here, but it also possibly goes out at the relay station where everyone's Wi-Fi is coming from, then guess what? You're out of not only power, even though you have alternative power that you can turn your power back on, it doesn't mean you're going to have Wi-Fi. So look at all the different things that you could possibly be going through. Try to cover your ground. One of the things that I'm going to be doing, especially with my preparation up here on the mountain, is to switch to a Wi-Fi system that does not depend on a cable relay, a hub somewhere down the road, that if the power goes out, it knocks out my Wi-Fi, because I want to be able to make sure that I can actually get out and communicate when I need to. I don't have a lot of mobile signal here in my area. I am in the middle of the wonderful wilderness of the Appalachian Mountains, and I have a beautiful area here, but at the same time, there are certain sacrifices. So I do depend on Wi-Fi calling with my mobile services quite a lot. And I also use other apps to be able to communicate as well. So in lieu of that, I need to make sure that I keep my Wi-Fi going if possible. So I am going to look at alternative Wi-Fi options that don't depend on the cable going down the road, that actually works off of electrical backup itself. If the power goes out, my generator doesn't turn their power on. It only turns my power on here. So if I had a satellite dish that gave me Wi-Fi, that would cancel that issue, and it would be awesome. It would be awesome not to do without electricity to the Wi-Fi. That would be awesome within itself. And you can see we have beautiful blue skies right now. And earlier we had visuals that we could not even, I mean, seriously, you couldn't see 20 feet in front of you because of all the snow that was coming down in the blizzard. It was amazing. And but look how beautiful the view is today, how gorgeous the mountains are. Again, the ground has been warm because we've had 60, 70 degree weather for the last couple of weeks. It's been very nice. And not sure if you can hear me very well because the wind is blowing still quite heavily. And you see this beautiful dog here that's checking out the view as well. You can see my lake down in the background, down at the bottom of the valley. And what a beautiful day. Earlier it was, I couldn't see those mountains. I couldn't even see this field because the snow, the blizzard was coming down so heavy. You can see my breath. It's cold here today. We're in the 20s and it's going to be dropping from this point. I'm at the hottest time of the day and I think it's about 26 degrees. So from this point forward, we're going to be dropping to about 6 degrees before morning, and I have to be prepared and have to have everything ready. So now that I've been able to turn off my generator, now I can switch my electricity back to the main power grid. And hopefully around the corner, I won't have to depend on the local power grid at all, working on other alternative electrical power sources for our operation here, so that we don't have to worry about being on the grid. We want to be off grid 100%. Have a good day. God bless. Thank you for joining me here at the Welch Family Homestead.